The second ordinary session of Parliament for the 2020 legislative year ends in Yaoundé, with the two houses adopting a total of 7 bills and contributing their quota in the ongoing fight against the COVID-19 pandemic. As the holiday season approaches, supervisors and facilitators of summer holiday camps are being groomed in Yaoundé on how to on best practices to keep the coronavirus at bay while enabling children have fun during holiday camps. As the search for a cure and vaccine for the coronavirus intensifies, medicinal plant experts in Yaoundé say the plant world can provide the antidote as tree bags and plant roots now flood the markets as alternatives for the solutions to the pandemic. And those are our lead stories. Hello and thanks for joining us on the 7:30 News. I am Ben Meno Pufong.
The wearing of face masks in public places will be mandatory until further notice.
Senate President Marcel Njifenji has congratulated senators on the work done individually and collectively at committee and plenary sitting that resulted in the adoption of 7 bills after their month-long session. He was speaking at the Yaoundé Conference Center today as he closed deliberations of the second ordinary session of the Senate for the 2020 legislative year. Senate correspondent Charles Anyangwe reports on today's closing ceremony and the appraisal of some senators make of their entire session.
The curtains were drawn at the Upper House of Parliament this Thursday after 30 days of intense work, during which 7 bills were adopted, which will contribute in strengthening Cameroon's position in the international scene as well as to its development in general. Senate President Marcel Njifenji, during this closing ceremony, praised senators for their spirit of hard work in committees and during the plenary sittings, urging them to continue in the same way with public authorities, councils and other stakeholders in fighting the COVID-19 pandemic when they go back to their respective regions.
He's insisting that as senators, who are men who are in relationship with the administration at the grassroots level, we should make sure that we have our contacts with the administrators, the villages, social institutions, to remind them about the pertinent regulations which are put in place.
Apart from these, Senate President also praised the head of state for raising the retirement age of the personnel of the Public Health Corps.
He also praised and congratulated the head of state for uplifting the retirement ages of workers of the public health for a work well done.
I think this speech was an embodiment of everything we've done here in summary, which to me was good.
Senate President also seized the opportunity and stated that senators exercise their constitutional duty of controlling government action through oral questions and worked with the audit bench of the Supreme Court in the management of public finances during this June session. He thanked the government bench led by Prime Minister Joseph John Gute and the representative of the National Assembly, stating that their presence at the closing ceremony portrays the frank and harmonious collaboration that exists between the Senate and other institutions of the Republic.
Members of the National Assembly equally concluded their month-long deliberations today, with House Speaker drawing a positive shade of the session that was marked by the scrutiny and adoption of 7 draft bills. The MNAs, through their speaker, applauded the presidential decrees extending the retirement age of health workers and the one upgrading certain old age, death and incapacity benefits of retirees. Esther Kima reports on a closing ceremony that saw the handing over of a sum of 100 million CFA francs to the PM, head of government, as the contribution of the MPs to the anti-COVID-19 Solidarity Fund. Esther?
The curtains are drawn on 30 days of legislation, highly appreciated by House Speaker Honorable Kawege Jibril, before the executive led by Prime Minister Joseph John Gute and the Senate representative, Vice President for Tabetando, amongst other dignitaries. Before harping on the session's activities, the House Speaker commended President Paul Biya's decrees extending the retirement age of health workers to 55 and 60, and that which fixes the coefficients for the upward revision of certain old age and incapacity pensions by 20%. The 7 bills scrutinized and adopted, and the special plenaries held on traditional medicine and the Made in Cameroon brand leave the legislators informed.
It was a very enriching session. I am versed with how things unfold, both at the plenary sittings and at the committee levels.
We have been working a lot, we learned a lot. It was quite interesting, and at the end I'm also so happy that we finally contribute to the COVID-19.
The talks on peace and the parliamentarian, the importance of peace in our communities.
We want to produce Cameroonians and consume Cameroonians, so they have to put a lot of money in the agricultural sector, educational sector, and the medical sector.
The second budgetary orientation debates and the deliberations in the dozens of parliamentary networks were admirable.
We had quite some significant advances with the budgetary orientation bill, and I hope that next year the debate on the budgetary orientation will be even better than what we had this year.
The triennial program produced by the Minister of Finance for the country is good. If everything in it is implemented, Cameroon will move faster than it is. People will imagine in the next 3 years.
The networks which have already started, that of entrepreneurship, the network has to be the interface between the public and the administration and organization.
To support the COVID-19 battle, the sum of 100 million CFA francs contributed by all the members of the National Assembly, regardless of their political leanings, was handed over to Prime Minister Joseph John Gute by House Speaker Honorable Kawege Jibril during the plenary. An action which translates the lawmakers' commitment to see the deadly virus ousted in their communities as they leave for recess.
Retirees in Cameroon can't wait for August 1, 2020 to start benefiting from yesterday's presidential largesse that grants them a 20% upward revision of some of their retirement dues. The presidential move has been saluted with a standing ovation by the retirees, particularly those who were not affected by the 2016 revaluation of the National Social Insurance Fund. Ewane Epole reports on the impact of the presidential measure and its incidence on the state's budget.
The decision by the head of state, President Paul Biya, to raise by 20% the pension dues paid to workers of the public sector, as stipulated in the decree signed on Wednesday, July 8, 2020, is good news for retired persons in Cameroon. The remuneration is applicable to retired people, persons with invalidity, and those covered by death insurance.
Applied to 93,000 persons. The whole amount we are going to spend is 15 billion francs a year. And I would say that this represents approximately 81% of all the pensioners of CNPS. We have to be ready by August. When they will receive the pension, the August pension, they will have the new amounts.
The National Social Insurance Fund, which has been clamoring for this reform with respect to financing parameters of the regime it manages, has applauded the head of state's decision. The reaffirmed will and commitment of President Paul Biya has now given the Cameroonian Social Security Scheme the much-needed impetus. It is part of the president's approach to the fight against poverty.
And reactions to yesterday's decree by the President of the Republic upwardly revising some of the old age, incapacity and death benefits have been flooding into our newsrooms from all the corners of the Republic. In this edition, we take you to the Southwest region, to the West and the North region, where the people are saying that it was a very, very momentary decision taken by the President of the Republic. Let's hear them in this joint report.
Many pensioners we talked to said they never expected that the head of state was going to sign a decree increasing the allowances, at least not at this time when the country is facing a lot of financial difficulties. They added,
yeah, we are very happy with the decision of increasing retirement benefit. That's a good initiative from the government.
The head of state's decree is very, very highly appreciated. Personally, I am happy.
If something of that nature can reach us, we will be very, very happy with the pensioners.
Nonetheless, many pensioners hope that the administrative bottlenecks that exist in the process for them obtaining their pensions will be addressed by the government.
If administration can decentralize so that problems of this level are sorted out at the regional level, that would help us a lot.
Pensioners in the Southwest region say they cannot but thank the head of state, appealing that he should not hesitate to continue to look into their plight.
By signing the decree that increased the pension of retirees in Cameroon by 20% amid the global health crisis, according to the beneficiaries in the West region, is a true indication that the President of the Republic is a veritable statesman who is forever determined to ameliorate the living conditions of all citizens and at all times. They say this gesture comes at the right time, given that they too have been hardly hit by the COVID-19 pandemic. Enough reason for them to put on a happy face, more so because the decree goes into effect as of August 1st this year. They have qualified it as one of the best surprise gifts they have ever received.
Theodore Kidan is a retiree from the National Veterinary Laboratory, Lanavet, for close to a decade. He is among many retirees in the North Regional Capital, Garwa, who hailed the decision of the head of state increasing old age and incapacity pensions and death benefits. I receive my pension normally without any delay. Now that I have an increment, I'm very grateful. Many of the view that the increase will go a long way to ease some of their financial burdens. We have a lot of problems because the money is insufficient. Thanking the head of state for the decree that takes effect from the 1st of August, beneficiaries in the North region have expressed the wish for more to be done to improve on their well-being.
And August 1 is only days away. The work milieu is being profoundly affected by the coronavirus pandemic. It is not only a threat to public health, but is disrupting and threatening the long-term livelihoods and well-being of millions across the globe. Cameroon is part of the largest ever online gathering, the virtual Global Summit on the COVID-19 that rounds up today with the Minister of Labor and Social Security, Gregoire Wona, representing the country. As Constantine Baum reports, the summit seeks not only to combat the outbreak, but to ensure the safety of individuals and the sustainability of businesses and jobs during post-pandemic recovery. Constantine?
This virtual global summit provides a platform for the International Labour Organization and its constituents, governments, workers and employers to play a crucial role in combating the outbreak, ensuring the safety of individuals and the sustainability of businesses and jobs. Cameroon's Minister of Labour and Social Security, Gregoire Wona, joined other leaders in the virtual summit to address the economic and social impact of the pandemic, which has laid bare the extreme vulnerability of millions of workers and enterprises. The first stage of the summit took place on the 1st and 2nd of July, and the stakeholders have examined a range of issues, including how to promote full and productive employment in this new environment, what needs to be done to address the massive vulnerabilities in the world of work made evident by the pandemic. They also looked at which workers require particular support and attention, how to position the reduction and elimination of poverty as central objectives of the recovery process.
Pour ce faire, le ministère du Travail et de la Sécurité sociale.
The Ministry of Labour and Social Security has intensified its call for the respect of labour principles and fundamental rights. We are supporting the small and medium-sized enterprises as well as supporting companies in order to ensure workers' protection. We have ensured effective implementation of core social protection, support of insurance coverage. The ministry is raising awareness on the protection of children as well as fighting against child labor. Inspection visits are also regular.
Selon la légalité nationale.
Through this summit, the international community is working for a common purpose and rededicating itself to the delivery of the UN's 2030 agenda.
The outgoing U.S. ambassador to Cameroon says his country has spent about 12 billion CFA francs since March this year to support Cameroon's health system. Henry Peter Ballorin made the statement after a farewell audience granted him by External Relations Minister Lejeune Mbelambela. Charles Ebune reports on the main thrust of their discussions.
The protocol arrangement was complete with few chats by key features of the Ministry of External Relations discussing before the arrival of the head of mission from one of Cameroon's strategic partners, the United States of America.
I just came to bid farewell to the Minister of External Relations, with whom I've had an excellent relation these past years.
Apart from the dominant Northwest and Southwest regions' troubles, a large part of Ambassador Henry Peter Ballerin's stay in Cameroon for about 3 years was on health diplomacy.
Particularly in the fight against HIV, AIDS, and malaria, but then now also in the fight against this pandemic that's affecting us, COVID-19, which is affecting Cameroon as well as the United States. And we've contributed over $20 million through the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, as well as USAID and the State Department.
According to the American ambassador to Cameroon, the country has a body stimulant which he will be missing.
I haven't done a scientific study, and I'm not a doctor, but I think that eating piment helps my health. So yes, so I try to eat it every meal. And I think that's what I will miss the most.
The United States ambassador to Cameroon will live in the days ahead after defending the ideals of President Donald Trump and those of America in Cameroon.
We should bear in mind that negligence by a single individual can seriously harm the entire community.
Thanks for watching the news on the Cameroon Radio Television, the CRTV. We are broadcasting live from Yaoundé. The Ministry of Tourism and Leisure is working on making holiday camps safe during the COVID-19 pandemic. In this light, capacity building workshop for instructors of holiday activities has kicked off in Yaoundé under the theme COVID-19 free holiday camps. Beatrice Losamba reports on the purport of the workshop.
Hard to predict what the state of public health will be in the coming days or even months. Meanwhile, children observing school break are yearning for safe outdoor spaces where they can feel free again, far from the anxiety about when COVID-19 would go away. Camp leaders say the coronavirus pandemic makes it hard to run full traditional holiday camps, but the Ministry of Tourism and Leisure thinks they do not need to fully close either. not if they are COVID-19 compliant. It has therefore embarked on training instructors of holiday activities to keep their spaces safe during COVID-19.
They will do so with utmost respect of the prevention and measures that was dictated by the World Health Organization and our government.
So holiday camps will operate rain and shine, but leaders will have to give clear instructions on hand washing and physical distancing. They would have to cap the number of visitors to a much lower figure. And prior to camp, some communication will have to outline expectations and guidelines consistent with current government restrictions, and by so doing, flatten the infection curve. It will take an extra effort to get camps still play their role to occupy and entertain children on vacation during these stressful times. It might take ramping up staff and operational costs and staggered schedules as well, which might make them just want to consider opening only if they deem it safe.
Fear continues to grip most pregnant women tested positive for COVID-19 as to whether their newborn baby will be COVID-19 positive. Pediatricians have been reassuring pregnant women that there is so far and not any baby born of COVID-19 mother must be positive and can survive and live normally. Our reporter Baldwin Sama is standing by at the Public Health Emergency Operations Center with his guest, Professor Evelyn Ma, a pediatrician, to talk about how to care for a neonate born to a COVID-19 infected mother. Hello, Baldwin and Professor. Thanks for joining us.
Good evening to you, Ben Menopofong. Indeed, the fear persists among pregnant women in Cameroon, especially these pregnant women who are tested positive for COVID-19. How do they manage their pregnancy to ensure that they do not infect their unborn babies? And when these pregnant women who have been tested positive for COVID-19 in the country, when they are delivered for their babies, how do they take care of these babies to avoid that these babies are infected with the virus? That is what we shall be discussing tonight with our guest, Professor Evelyn Ma. She is a pediatrician. Good evening, Prof.
Good evening, Baldwin.
Tell us, Prof, is it possible for a pregnant woman who has been tested positive for COVID-19 to infect her unborn baby?
So far, there is little or no evidence at all for the mother infecting her fetus while the baby is still in her uterus or during birth. However, it is possible for the baby to be infected after birth by other means: dirty hands, contaminated clothes, and even through air droplets. So the pregnant woman might not necessarily transmit the virus directly to the child when in utero, but care must be taken after the baby is born so as not to infect this baby.
And since we're talking about when the baby is born, a pregnant woman who tested positive for COVID-19, when she's delivered of a baby, how does she take care of that baby? Must she be separated from the baby?
Good question. First of all, a baby born at term and with a good weight of a COVID-19 positive mother doesn't necessarily need to be separated from the mother. First of all, in the delivery room, the baby receives normal essential care as any other baby, protecting the baby from catching colds, clamping of the cord, cutting it, respecting asepsis, putting the child directly skin to skin with the mother, and giving the child the essential elements that the child needs: vitamin K, eye drops, and immediate initiation of breastfeeding. That said, the mother must be very clean when going to the delivery room and must be wearing a mask in order that she doesn't contaminate her newborn baby.
And finally, is it advisable that this woman who has been delivered of a baby, but she's COVID-19 positive, should she breastfeed that baby?
Definitely. She must. It's a must. Because no evidence so far has shown that the virus has been transmitted to a baby through breast milk. Secondly, when we look at the advantages of breast milk to this baby, against other infections that can be fatal to the baby, we will only say the mother must breastfeed the baby. But with caution, you must maintain the barrier methods that we all know. Wearing a mask, very clean environment, cleaning the hands, washing the hands regularly, even hourly, after every procedure. Whether she touched the utensils that she used to wash her baby, or whatever that she uses in the house, she must wash her hands before touching the baby and after touching the baby. And she must wear a mask when feeding her baby. And then there's a question of separating her from her baby. No, they don't need to separate her from the baby. After birth, they can stay in the same room, but they must not sleep on the same bed. So the answer to your question is no. The mother and child must not be separated. 2, they must do exclusive breastfeeding as in any other child. And these babies must receive care as any other normal child.
Thank you so very much, Professor Evelyn Ma. We remind our viewers that you're a pediatrician. Thank you for those answers to the many worries from pregnant women who have been tested positive for COVID-19. Ben Menopufong, pediatricians equally use the opportunity of the traditional press briefing this evening to call on husbands who have pregnant women who have been tested positive for COVID-19, their family members, relatives, to encourage them to stay around these women, to be like a moral booster to these women, to reassure them that being tested positive for COVID-19 when you're pregnant, it doesn't mean that your child will be COVID-19 positive. You can be delivered of a baby who is COVID-19 negative, and that child survives and lives normally like any other baby. That's the take-home message from the Public Health Emergency Operations Center this Thursday evening. Back to you, Ben Menopufong.
Thank you very much, Baldwin Sama, and most especially to your guest, Professor Evelyn Ma, for those practical tips on how COVID-19 mothers can take care of their newly born babies. On to other developments in the news. Due to the coronavirus, children no longer have the anxiety of visiting leisure sports or even participating in some holiday activities such as summer holiday camps. The kids have, however, found a way to occupy themselves during the long vacation, and their parents too have gone out of their way to ensure that the children have a fun-filled break in spite of the COVID-19 pandemic. In the following report, Yoti Kaleli Songe tells us how kids spend their leisure time given the current health context.
An unusual holiday, they say, but not all too bad, as it has brought out their hidden talents. While the boys play football, the girls are entertaining themselves with 7 stones. When they get bored with 7 stones, the dodgeball keeps them busy. Meanwhile, the grown-ups either opt for a game of Ludo, where age or wisdom can't guarantee a win. Only luck does the trick. Or would rather sit in their individual corners, internet surfing.
I'm able to cope with it. I'm getting used to, but sometimes I miss going out, spending time outside, because staying at home all the time is boring.
Over at the Belibis, the kids either play hide and seek or dress up with their dolls. The TV also keeps some of them entertained.
We are obliged to occupy them at home. Cooking for girls, they have to cook with their mother and learn how to, manage the house. For the boy, the reading and so on. Themselves, even they are inventive, they are creative.
And being creative is how other children manage to have a fun-filled holiday, like these ones who have made a toy using bottle covers, a stick and a cord. Then it's playtime like it were a whirlwind of activity.
As the dates for official examinations in Cameroon draw near, teachers and guidance counselors in public and private schools are accompanying students with useful tips to better prepare them for the examinations, assisting students to draw up their individual study timetables, revising past question papers, and orienting them on what to do after their examinations are some of the tips that they are dishing us. Emmanuela Vernier visited some schools in Yaoundé, and in the fourth of our series on examinations and how the students are preparing for it, now puts together the following story.
They came from Douala to Yaoundé to talk, and for over 4 hours they were loud on problems of the management of authors' rights in Cameroon. The issue of Sonacam more preoccupying. They want to see this organ dissolved for failure to meet its objectives.
Sonacam has a lot of problems. The board is not doing good at all. We try to talk to them, they don't want to talk to us. They use our money to insult us through the media. We came to see the minister, and together we're going to find a solution.
Artist Wednesday, as the initiative is called, has also seen discussions around the newly voted bill concerning artist associations in Cameroon. A lot of misunderstanding still surrounds it.
Through this bill just voted, you have the privilege to enjoy your career. The ball is now at your court to reflect on your status as artist, the development of your sector, and especially your social security.
He explained what we didn't know in terms of the law. We're hoping that we're going to come to a solution. We are here to propose some kind of exit from all the problems that we have.
These renowned musicians grouped in an association are pushing for an industry where artists will be able to make a living from what they do.
That was Emmanuela Vernier, no doubt, but reporting on the artistic world and not on our running series, and we should be giving you that fourth report in our subsequent editions. The Parliamentary Network on the Diaspora, Decentralization and Cross-Border Cooperation has tapped the rich communication and cooperation experience from the Minister of Communication ahead of the project to get the Cameroonian diaspora participate in the development of their fatherland. They were received in audience today in Yaoundé by Minister René Emmanuel Sadi on the line of strategic public authorities to fine-tune the roadmap for their lobbying project to develop Cameroon beyond political leanings. Kilian Dandifon was there.
There were 7 representing the Parliamentary Network on the Diaspora, Decentralization and Cross-Border Cooperation who came knocking at the doors of the Minister of Communication, René Emmanuel Sadi. Their discussion was in camera at the conference room of the Ministry of Communication, but the subject was disclosed to the press at the end of the audience.
We came to tap from the rich experience of the man heading the ministry and to seek their collaboration to see that we beef up the relationship between our brothers who are abroad and the government by seeing that the rich talents that we have abroad can be used in the country, and that they should also tap from the wealth of the country to make this country great.
The audience with the communication boss followed others at the presidency, the Prime Minister's office, and the Ministry of External Relations to better prepare the message to pass on to the Cameroonian diaspora.
We are going to tell them that no matter our political leaning, the country interest is first. Insofar as this country is concerned, we should know that politics will pass, but the country should stay. And so it is of our interest to see that we put our hands and heads together to build this nation.
The Parliamentary Network on the Diaspora, Decentralization and Cross-Border Cooperation is a few months old, but with far-reaching inclusive development plan for Cameroon.
Some 872 young lawyers who constituted the Bernard Acho Munat's batch have been taking their oath of office across in separate ceremonies across the country organized for them. 90 of them were sworn in yesterday at the Court of Appeal of the Center. Sidoni Jobmande reports on a ceremony that will culminate in the swearing-in of some 316 young lawyers in 3 days.
Respecting professional secrets which are critical in the passing of judgment is one of the main recommendations made to young lawyers by the Vice President of the Court of Appeal of the Central Region, Shedik Gilbert. The new lawyers who began swearing in today in Yaoundé were all admitted into the 2020 final bar examination. While taking the oath to adequately honor the rights of the Republic, important prescriptions on good reporting were also made by judicial authorities of the Bar Council.
I've asked lawyers to be very, very independent and to work hard and to be patient, because when you are patient and hardworking, that result will come.
In line with the judicial tradition, this new batch of young lawyers baptized Bernard Achumuna are officially welcomed into the judicial corps.
There are many challenges. Having an office, being a competent lawyer, and accomplishing my duty without any problem.
What we are supposed to do is to accompany the court to render equitable justice. Justice means you give to someone what he merits.
Meanwhile, these lawyers will henceforth have the challenge to work in collaboration with the public to ensure impartiality in legal decisions.
The urban road network in Bertua in the East region is currently receiving a fresh facelift with the tarring of some 15 kilometers of road in the city thanks to the French Debt Relief and Development Contract, the C2D. This is a highly applauded initiative is however hanging at the mercy of timber truckers and other heavy-duty vehicles whose frequency on these roads contribute in their rapid degradation. As Martin Mabu reports from CRTV East, this situation can be averted if bypasses are envisaged in such projects.
Bertua is developing at a geometric rate with different infrastructural projects taking place to give the land of the rising sun a facelift. Thanks to the French Debt Relief Project C2D, roads, leisure parks, green spaces, shops, just to name a few, are springing out from everywhere. Despite these infrastructural and road development projects, inhabitants of Bertua are hopelessly waiting for a secondary or defacing road, as the town has only one road linking the entrance of the city, Bonis, via the main town, Enya, and the exit, Manjo, heading towards Garabula. For more than 10 years now, since a secondary road project was conceived, nothing has evolved. Numerous accidents, pollution, noise, bad roads, crowd trouble, and traffic jam are visible on the lone national #1 highway. The transit of heavy-duty trucks from Douala heading towards Central Africa or Chad has led to constant dilapidations of roads.
Many accidents of roads, first of all, spoiling even the road. If you have another road, we have a solution.
The Bertua City Council Mayor, Jean-Marie Soria Dimbele, who is the pioneer city mayor, has put the 21-kilometer deviation or secondary road project from Ganko to Manju as top priority.
I can confirm that the long road linking Bonis to Manju is a major obstacle to development of the town. Heavy dirty trucks destroy the road. Accidents are recurrent. Noise, pollution are always present. Bertua need another secondary road absolutely.
It is expected that the cries of the Bertua inhabitants will be heard as they wait impatiently for another secondary road.
The new Secretaries General of the Ministries of Trade and Tourism have been enjoined to ensure that their activities inject a new dynamic in their respective ministries and institute a more proactive approach to work and the handling of files. Professors Brucille Miranda Martin Mutu and Marcel Paul Ndioro Amamun were installed today by their respective bosses, as we hear in this report with Clarice Areitakan.
As the main collaborator of the minister, the new Secretary General at the Ministry of Trade will have to play a pivotal role in fighting against inertia, insubordination, absenteeism and deviant behavior. These are the challenges 44-year-old Professor Brucille Miranda Martin Metu will have to take up in her new role. While commissioning her, top trade official Luc Magua-Mbaga Tangana stressed the need to ensure that government's import substitution agenda is given room to thrive under the experienced hands of the former vice rector in charge of research, cooperation and relations with enterprises at the University of Chang.
I hope that I will do all my efforts to make them satisfied by the mission that have been put in the place by the Ministry of Trade.
Meanwhile, for 41-year-old Njoro Amamun Paul Marcel, his new challenge as Secretary General at the Ministry of Tourism will be to coordinate the activities of the 8 structures put in place to make Cameroon a more attractive tourist destination. Tourism boss Magari Bello Buba said the objectives to attain require hard work and discipline for the former director at the Secretariat General at the Prime Minister's office.
There is one chief, is a Minister of State. All I have to do is to put in practice what he will decide, because the priority is the priority that he will decide.
His predecessor, Professor Angeline Florence Ngomo, was saluted for her 13 years of expertise, which were instrumental in pushing the works of the ministry forward. Her humility and coordination skills were put forward as values to be emulated.
That's it for today and for the week. Let's take the rendezvous for Monday, 7:30. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.
Each of us must comply with the measures that have been taken.
CRTV News, ici, toute l'info.